Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
The call and the great collective effort. I recently had an experience that made me feel fearful and weary of the concept of destiny, or the call, and whether or not it exists and calls upon some individuals to act upon the great human effort. So this past years I've been delving into very abstract parts of the human mind, while reading a lot of books around the themes of shamanism, existentialism, and overall, the development of the collective consciousness. I have felt and absorbed a wave of ideas that don't feel like my own, as if I began to tap into a layer of our collective process and seen some ancient philosophy. The idea that has really stuck with me is that of agents of change, and how some people seem to come into this earth and serve as stepstones to humanity's dialectical development, be it through their personality or actions or insights. Reading Jung, Tesla, or Nietzsche, they all seem to talk in one way or another about how it felt as if they were being led by forces greater than them, their ideas slowly unfolding through synchronicity and their personal journeys. These people, however, always seem to be sacrificed by the collective. See how Nietzsche or the martyrs or Tesla ended up. The fruits they acquired and distributed are used for the greater good, and they are left as shells. I began to have some really intense dreams and insights. This call feels scary and like a leap of faith that will forever distance me from those I love. The road feels lonely, like I will always be one step behind from being entranced into the everyday dramas of life and enjoying them casually. I envy those who want a life of simple fulfillment. I sometimes feel like I'm going insane, always one foot into this abstract world. I don't want to seem like a megalomaniac. I do not like these thoughts and wish I could just live without having this urge to research, understand, and therefore suffer. Is anyone also experiencing this calling? Can someone help me with some words?
Yes, I feel it too. I have the same apprehensions. Namely, I'm afraid that the process of speaking about it openly will hinder my progress. Because it sounds as holier than thou. I feel like I should be building something. That I'm supposed to work with others to build something, but I know not what, and I know not who, and I know not when or where.
What you're describing is completely normal for the relatively small percentage of people who are genuinely perceptive and who acquire wisdom of the absolute and universal truths. You don't want to sound megalomaniacal, but you're framing it in somewhat megalomaniacal terms. It's not a calling so much as you're just living by your own nature. The nature of wise and perceptive men is to possess a soul which desires to ascend from the mere mundane and physical. It's totally inevitable. The purpose of souls is to act as a bridge between the body and the divine. People with particularly potent, powerful souls are pulled away from the body and from the profane level of being to higher planes. Experiencing melancholy as a result of this pull is normal because most people around us aren't like this. It's not common, and society isn't necessarily built to provide support for people like us. You were likely raised and conditioned to internalize certain social and ethical values, which are incompatible with the path that your soul is taking you along. You can call it a calling, but at least for my part, I see it more as a fulfillment of a preordained conclusion.
So it's like the mandate of heaven is what you're saying.
You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Might as well see where the path takes you. Gain material security as much as you can where it is offered, and continue your studies. You have scratched the surface, now you must specialize and find a passion. You will come to find pleasure in failures, because they are the only means of advancement in the way. Keep learning and forsake the stupidity of our age.
Would you feel comfortable sharing what you dream about? I understand and share the slight apprehension.
The dream felt very similar to what Nietzsche described in Zarathustra's chapter, The Stillest Hour. I actually came to read this chapter a couple of days after the dream, which spooked me quite a bit. It felt like a sorrowful confrontation. I was presented with two paths by a formless voice. One path was that of going along with what the great river had in store for me. The key words are loneliness and completion. I saw all my friends live their lives, smile and suffer and conquer the world in their own ways, and then die. It was as if I had to live completely with the knowledge of the ephemeral nature of those I love. But it also was the path in which myself, or whatever it is, achieved something of fortune. The other path was to live my life day by day while ignoring this other reality. Own a house, wife and kids, drink and enjoy the mundane pleasures, but ultimately feel that vague incompleteness that I could know more and realize more. I have come to see the cathartic, confrontational effect of these dreams as more a psychic stoic preparedness, especially the more apocalyptic ones, sort of like the Tower in tarot. Have you read any Deleuze? His writing is very concerned with the counterforce, those who have contributed entire schools of thought in opposition to the dominant of the present with one mind. I would consider Deleuze himself to be among them. Might be another step on the path.
So it's like the Harvester game-ending choices: come out and initiate, or die in the simulation.
It's not megalomania, it's simply the truth. You're not just explaining it here for our sake, you're half hoping to convince yourself. Have faith, of course, many of us have experienced. Sages throughout history have spoken of the trials and troubles. Take a philosophical approach, or a religious one, or yes, even especially, a megalomaniac approach to it all, or however helps you keep faith in your path. It is only a lonely one should you make it so.
I'm the same OP. It feels like I'm waiting. Specifically, it feels like I'm supposed to lead a small group like a lab in some specific scientific discoveries and innovations. I'm naturally talented in the skills I would need to do this, and have in a very strange and destined way come to be in the right place to do this, along with the necessary resources, including degrees, etc. I don't know how I'm supposed to find the specialists I'm to work with, lead though. It doesn't feel like I'm supposed to look for them though. It feels like I have to wait and make sure to spot them when they show up. But it certainly feels like there is no scenario in which my destiny is not fulfilled. It's just a matter of sooner or later. I have always felt this since as a child, and I have had incredible serendipity and luck all my life. People have shown up out of nowhere to help me in unexplainable ways. My life seems fake from how bizarrely novelistic it is. Partner always jokes that no one would believe my biography. People I meet and know all expect me to do something very great, but no one is ever specific about what that might be. Every unexpected and almost unimaginable milestone I hit is met with people who know me saying supportive things like, "I always knew this would happen," or "This makes absolute sense for you even though it was impossible." And of course, a ton of one-in-a-million comments and situations. I talk about it with anyone who brings it up and have never felt like I come off as anything genuine. It's indeed a very strange feeling. And the people who ask are people who comment on how strange it feels to be around me and to see my sometimes improbable experiences unfold. I don't know how to find the specialists/collaborators I'm supposed to work with, but I guess that means it's not time yet. I'm interested in the idea of agents of change and had not heard of this before.
I can relate to this. I just sort of know things will work out for me. I feel divinely protected. There is a sort of detachment to it, like if it were proven untrue, I would be okay, but that is what helps me have faith in it. But it is more of just a background knowing. I have always had an interest in wisdom, and I think of life as a place to learn lessons. Every experience, every person I meet is a chance to learn. I think living life this way has helped me know this about myself and about the reality I inhabit.
Follow the river, plant your seeds. There is joy to be had. That's what keeps me grounded and active in a way that's not all-consuming. But yes, the synchronicities leave me humbled and in awe, as if something, or even just myself, is reaching me directly and in key times. My belief, and this isn't in any way a new belief, is that everyone, in the end, has a hand, even if minute, in this great spectacle of continuous evolution. I've come to interpret that ideas and actions are like waves that interact with our collective mind in ways we can't even identify. And some people, for whatever reason, seem to work as bright catalysts for what culture has been building up towards. Prophets see themselves as mediators because the ideas they are propagating are literally bigger than them and tell us more about the collective than the prophet himself. After all, the reason their beliefs resonate with people like wildfire is because deep down, those ideas were already being nurtured and only needed a tool for action. I see the dialectical process as one that ultimately aims for transcendence in all the names it was given throughout the ages, as maybe that's the next step in the great scheme of evolution. I wish wisdom and success for your own corner of whatever this is, man. As for why I chose that image, well, it just seemed very fitting, ha ha ha.
Last October, after an awful bout of illness, I came to have a very strong confidence and strength that lasted for roughly a week. The turning point was when I desperately asked for help in bed, and I can only assume I received help. For that week it felt strongly like I had the wind at my back, and that correcting my bad habits was as simple as anything. I only had the desire to eat milk and bread, no desire to masturbate, etc. It was a total change. In the end, I was able to feel the invisible connections between things, and it was really straining my brain. I would say I was pushed to 80% of my limits before the effect faded.
Yes, wow. This happened to me also, incredibly. As you said, after a period of unique despair and loss, I felt as if the archetype of the sun with its bright and expanding light suddenly was very close to my soul and heart. I don't know where it even came from, but it was strong, and I felt as if my mind was clear in its objectives for the first time in a long time. All the usual neurosis I deal with simply faded, as if they ran away to some cave to hide from the light. During those days, I kept thinking to myself, even if I again fall into darkness, I will always know from here on forward that this light exists, is possible, and is within me. I like to draw spontaneously, and I suddenly found myself drawing the figure of the bright sun, liberating and expanding its rays, without even consciously thinking on it. It is very important to search and nurture this light. There are people out there who seem to be completely in contact and immersed with this sun within. They know what they want, and they don't waste their time in getting there with self-imposed obstacles. As you said, like, the wind is at their back, pushing them on.
Yes. The spirit world is not just invisible matter. Ghosts aren't made out of ectoplasm. They do not exist here. Probably for what you conceptualize as existing, the fairer answer would be no, but the totality of what you think is real existence is only part of it. They are real and exist in our collective and individual minds. They are just thoughts, but they have a life of their own because no one of us decides who they are or what they are doing, and humans are very good at symbolically encoding information into things so that the existence of a ghost someone is aware of may well be transferred to you through some mundane thing the person said or did, as parts of their psyche they are not even aware of. Talk to parts of your psyche you are not aware of. And like, say, the placebo effect, mere thoughts can influence matter. And instead of that being some novelty that now gets to belong in the body of material existence you are comfortable with, it's actually that everything is like that and nobody is even existing in exactly the same physical reality because we all have countless influences from the other realm. Ghosts particularly start out as actual people, or someone's impression of them. This is also them too, but we are what we think of us and what others think of us simultaneously. This is called the expectational field and you are subject to it. If someone praises you for being a certain way you had no idea you were being, you will automatically start trying to embody that, if only just a little. The more in tune with other parts of yourself you are, the more you can resist, but you are never fully immune. Such is the nature of existence. So a ghost is a leftover thought that can actually interact with and influence people in physical reality, but it does not exist in physical reality.
Every time you sleep long enough to have lucid dreams, your consciousness is reset in order to preserve the matrix resources. Your subconscious is part of the collective during dreaming. Oftentimes people can hear noises that are not physically around them, sometimes some that are physically around them, when beginning to wake up or even when falling asleep. This happens around the theta wave brain frequencies often. I've personally heard what sounded kind of like a doorbell ring before waking up more than several times. I don't have a doorbell in my house.
Has happened twice. Both times I was forced completely awake. The sound is disruptive and kind of similar to tinnitus or like the sound of headphone static. One time it was as I was falling asleep, hypnagogic state, and I was discussing alien life forms with a person who asserts that they are chimeric organisms from Earth. This person exists and also makes this assertion. In real life, as I became aware that this conversation was happening, the sound struck as if it was preventing me from learning about the conversation. Second time was similar, but I was also in a dream about discovering something about a curious individual in my life, and I was forced awake again.
It seems for a while now my mental space/internal world has been distorted, probably by malign non-physical beings and or some fake non-physical domain created to limit ideas. I will try to think of something new. I know I have thought of new ideas and things before. but it has become harder recently as the aesthetics conjured up mentally are just derivative of what has already been made, and/or they are more sterile. That's one of the many issues. Things have become more sterile and derivative. It seems these align with how many more mainstream and even niche our internet aesthetics have become in recent years. Very derivative, more sterile, more archontic, one could say as well. That's the reason I mentioned the idea of it being due to a domain, like a collective consciousness or ideas realm, in which fake ideas and aesthetics are placed because the sterility and derivative quality of the aesthetics align, be it many of the ones I don't intend to conjure up myself or ones found online and in the world. I wonder if this has been implemented or at least severely increased and intensified in recent years, since about 2017, and perhaps increasing in some spheres, to inhibit humanity's potential for creating new things and new ideas. It seems this and some other things have been a last grasp attempt by the Archons and their syndicate, by the Matrix as some would call it, to exert control and inhibit humanity as it has the potential to learn and liberate itself more than ever before. Probably why they have infested the internet with bots, feds, and shills, and why they disparaged and polluted conspiracies and conspiracy spheres a great deal between 2016 to 2018 and continuing into today. Part of the mental space distortion comes from where I currently live, which is quite awful. I've been to other places where it's nicer and it's a bit easier there to think. I am working on leaving where I currently am.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup,